Hi, I'm Cheryl, and I have a watercolor type card for fall to show you how I did today. And let's get started. We're going to pop up the watercolor pit, and you can use either, used the thin foam, but you can also use just some lightweight cardboard, like from packaging, because you're not going to see it, so it doesn't really matter. Use whatever you like that will pop it up a little bit. If you want to be eco-friendly, use some old packaging. Get some reuse out of it. And I have a piece of watercolor paper, and this is cut to 4x6. And let me show you the watercolor paper that I like to use. It's not terribly expensive. It works pretty well. I get this is a Fabriano Studio watercolor, and 140 pounds. So it's a nice heavy weight. I get the hot press. That means that it's smooth. Okay, cold press means it'll be all lumpy and bumpy. Hot press means it's nice and smooth. Let me just toss that down on the floor here. Get that out of the way. So I have my piece of watercolor paper. From Sahara sand, I've cut this lacy matte piece here, and that's from intricate swirl die frames from Heartfelt Creations, and that's this piece here. If you want to conserve on paper, you can cut that center piece out, use that for something else at another time. I'm just going to leave it all one piece. I've used the Gather Together stamp set for this. We'll be using this big leaf here. We're using Season of Thanks for the front. And then this little sentiment here, so glad to have you in my life. And then this one also on the inside, may this season bring you smiles and love that will last all year. It also comes with a nice die set here. So these leaves are particularly pretty. I'm not using it in this card, but I just wanted to show you that if you get the bundle, it's got these nice embossed leaves for other projects. Okay, I'll be using my Stamparatus. It's a 5x7 card, so I don't seem to have my card base here. I'm going to have to stop the video at some point and make a card base, but I can do that while my watercolory stuff is drying. So that you'll need a piece of I like to use the heavy weight, the thick Whisper White cardstock from Stampin' Up, and I'll cut a piece that's 7 by 10 inches, and then it'll be scored and folded 5 inches to make our 5x7 card. So then I have a bunch of inks. I have a pretty Peacock, Pumpkin Pie, Terracotta Tile, Poppy Parade, Daffodil Delight, and Sahara Sand. That's quite a stack of them. Luckily these new ones stack so nice. Look at this. There's that pile, and I can pick it up and jiggle it around a little bit, and they stay nicely stacked. It doesn't take much to make me happy. Then I have some water brushes. I'm going to use them with water. I have 2 little cups here. I'm going to fill up with water. And one will be to rinse my brush. The other one will be to pick up clear water. I'm going to need some paper towels. So I'll get a paper towel out. 1 paper towel should be enough. I'll be using the Wink of Stella and the Nuvo Crystal Drops, and this is pale gold. I'm using the Art Glitter Dries Clear Adhesive, and the pattern paper I used for this little bit of background you can see showing here was from the Oakberry Lane Blossoms cards, the designer papers from Heartfelt Creations. And this is what the sheet looks on this side, like on this side. This is what it looks like on this side. Okay, so we're going to be cutting a piece out from that. But if you don't happen to have this, and you don't want to get this, there's some, you could use something like this. Here's a piece left over from another project I did that I used digital papers printed on Pool Party, which would look nice as well. Or you could take a piece of the Pool Party cardstock and stamp on that with Sahara sand. You could do that also. So, let's see. Anything else? Oh, and the Memento Tuxedo black ink we'll be using also. Okay. So let's do our watercoloring, and then I'll go away and I'll get my I have to get my water. Okay, so I'm going to have to stop the video now. I'll stop the video now. I'll get my water and make myself a card base. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my water now. So make watercoloring a lot easier if I have some water. And I'm going to start with the pretty Peacock. Give that a nice squeeze from the back. If you're still using the older stamp pads, of course you wouldn't be using this color because this didn't come in the old stamp pads style. You squeeze the old ones from the front. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just wet a nice big section here on my watercolor paper. Now if you don't like your paper buckling and bowing, use some tape to tape it down. There are a lot of different tapes you can use, but it's just something that's low tack, and that will keep it. See, my paper's already starting to bow here. So I'm going to pick up some of this Peacock, and it's a pretty intense color. I'm going to just put a bunch of that down here in the center of the card. Okay. And I'll rinse that out. Move on to my next color. I'm going to keep this handy though because we'll be using that in a little while. So let's do Poppy Parade next. Pick up a little bit of water, and I'm going to add some of that. Nice bright orange. Pretty fall colors. Rinse that out. Go over to my clean water. Use some of the terracotta tile. And we're just putting blotches of color down. That's all. Just want to get a lot of different nice fall kind of colors in there. There. I'll wipe that off because I seem to have picked up a little bit of my Peacock on there. Don't want to leave that on there and close that up. Okay, now, come on, pumpkin pie. There we go. Get that rinsed real good. Pick up some of the clear water. And we'll just put some of that down. I'm just going to add some more water on here. This does a little bit of pumpkin pie, but that's okay, because we just want it all runny and wet and watercolory. If you want, you can take your paper and move it around a little bit like this. It's pretty, isn't it? Use your finger if you want. I'm just going to let that set for just a few minutes. Well, for a minute maybe. And let's see, what can I talk about while I'm waiting for this to dry a little bit. Oh, I know what. Y'all might have known that Stampin' Up! Discontinued their Stampin' Trimmer. That's what I use a lot. That's this one right here. But they've replaced it, and it's going to become available. They're waiting until they have a good stock of them, so that they can, then they'll offer them to everybody. Will I get one? I don't know. Maybe I will. Eventually, I'm going to run out of my my cutting blades. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have one spare score blade. But eventually I'm going to run out of those, so I'm going to have to do something, because these cutting blades just aren't available anymore. But it looks really nice. It's not quite as big as this. It's not quite as thick as this, so it's going to store much nicer. Supposedly they've sturdied up this bit here, this fence, this bridge here, so that it doesn't, like, this can move a little bit back and forth, and get your score line could be off a little. It's still got an arm that swings out. It's quite nice looking, and I may end up getting one because it didn't seem like it was going to be terribly expensive either. So we shall see. But in the meantime, I still have 5 blades. I'm not buying a new one until I've run out of blades. Okay, so I'm just going to blot this now. Now that I've let it set for a while, I'm going to blot it and pick up my excess water on here. And I want to add a little bit more of the Peacock. Just very light around the outside edges here. So I need lots of water, very little ink. You see, I just pulled a little bit out. I'm mixing it up real light over here. Now add some in here. And I could go over top of some of this color. Let's put some over this way. And maybe a little dab up in there. Okay. And now once again I'm going to blot this. And now my paper is still damp. Alright? So I'm gonna stamp my leaves on here while it's still damp. And why am I doing that? Because I want my leaves to get kind of fuzzy, and like I watercolored the leaves and the veins all by myself on here. So I want it to give that illusion. So I'm going to stamp three leaves. Let's see, I'll put one up here. this one, or put one going this way. And one down here. Okay, so I have 3 leaves on there. And then I'm going to use my Sahara. That was stamped with Sahara sand, by the way. Use my Sahara sand and my brush. I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to add some, so it looks kind of like shadows on the leaves. And it's going to help to make my leaf look separate from the background. I'm just going along the vein. I'm just picking a side of the vein, going alongside of it. Doesn't matter which side you pick. I'm just going right along there. Just a little bit of that Sahara sand. And then I'm going to switch over to Daffodil Delight. Oh, that needs a squeeze. I'm going to switch over to Daffodil Delight. Get my brush cleaned out. I'll pick up a little bit of Daffodil Delight. And I'm going to do the tips of the leaves with that. So we're adding another color in here. Not all of the tips. I'm just going to do some of them. And that just helps to bring our leaves, make our leaves separate from the background too. And yellow's a nice fall color. Get some nice yellow leaves in the fall. Okay, so there we are so far. Then I'm going to go back. I'm going to use the Poppy Parade and the Sahara Sand. And what would a watercolor bit be without some splatters on it, right? So we're going to splatter, do some splatters. Pick up some of my Sahara Sand and just going to hold my finger like this. And just tap it on my finger. I'm giving it quite a good whack. You can hear it hit my finger. Okay, a little bit down here, maybe in the corner. Alright, that looks good for the Sahara Sand, and then we'll use some of the Poppy Parade. Brush out. Get some more water. And thin that Poppy Parade out. We want that good and watery. And give that some splatters with that. And that's it. That's ready now. I'm going to set this aside. I'm just going to let it dry. Just like this. If you're pressed for time, you can use your heat tool or a hair dryer gun if you want to. And we're just going to let that dry. So I'll be back later. I think I'll go have some lunch. This would be a good time to get a cup of tea or something too. So see you in a bit. Okay, well our watercolor piece is pretty well dry. Let's do our stamping, our sentiment stamping next. So I have one I need to do on the inside of the card and one for the front of the card. So I have them already set up on my on my Stamparatus. And I'll do the inside of the card first here. Da, da, da. 1, 2, 3. You need to give your ink a few seconds to transfer. Let's see, do I want to stamp that again? I think that looks pretty good just the way it is. Put that aside. And I can just flip this around. And let's see, how did I have this in here? I think like this. Oh, you know what? I think I'll orient this card a different way. I think I'm going to change it. Instead of having it open this way, I think I'll turn it and have it this way. And then you can decide which one you like better. Okay, so where should I put my little greeting? I think right here in the, down here in this corner here. I'll put it right there. I'll get that lined up kind of how I want it. Pick that up. And I can see I'm going to have to straighten that out. There we go. I'm using the grid lines on this leaf here to line that up so it's nice and straight. And I don't have to worry about having a wonky sentiment. Okay, and there we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, and that looks good. Wonderful. It looks wonderful. And now we can start putting the card together. Let me bring in this piece. Oh, we need to cut. Because I wanted to show you how to get 4 5x7 pieces out of your 12x12 pattern paper. I have to move some of this stuff out of the way so I can get my Stampin' trimmer up here on the table. Okay. So this is where I got my first piece from, and what I did was I started out, I put my paper in here, and I slid it over until it lined, this edge lined up with the 7-inch piece here. And I scored down, and on here is markings in inches, and I scored down to when this little pointy part here got to 5, and I stopped. Okay, pick that up, and then I turned it. I had to flip it over this way, and I turned it and I slid this in until this edge came to 5 inches, and I just scored that down till I got to the 7-inch mark and stopped. And then I just took that little bit out there, just nice as and clean as can be. So I'm going to use, what should I use? This piece here should already be 7 inches now, because I cut a 5-inch piece off, and it's 12 inches. 12 minus 5 is 7. So I can just flip this over and bring this, slide it over to 5 inches and cut that piece out. Okay, so I have this piece, it's 5x7 for this project. So my next piece would be right here. So I would just put that in, and this is 7 inches this way here. Slide that to 5, score it there, and let me do it. I might as well score it. What's on the back? Let me check what's on the back. Yeah, I probably won't use that. I don't do square cards very often. So slide that there to 5. And there we go. Now I have another nice 5x7 piece. And then we have just this piece left. So slide this one over to 5. Score that. And there we go. I've gotten 4 5x7 pieces from that 12-inch square piece of cardstock. And I have one little piece like this left. Oh, isn't that interesting on the back? It looks like a little checkerboard. How cute is that? I may have to save this. Okay, so now I have my piece that I need for the front of my card. Let's see. Which one should I think I'll use this one. So this piece gets glued onto here. Both of those get glued on here. You can use tape if you like. I prefer glue because I just feel that the glue just kind of melds the paper fibers together and you get a better hold with that. Over time, I've found that some of the tapes lose their sticky and your card starts to fall apart. Yeah, so I don't, hopefully if you're going to the trouble of making somebody a nice homemade card like this, they're going to keep that card around for a while. Okay, so now we'll glue this onto the card front. And to get that lined up nice, I like to go like this. Stand it up and just kind of tap it like this. And that gets that lined up so nicely. Okay. Now I decided that I'm going to be eco-friendly. And I'm going to use my little bit of cardboard here to attach this. So let me put my glue on here. I cut this piece just a little smaller than my watercolor piece here. This is 4x6, so I cut it just shy of 4x6 because I don't want it poking out and showing around the edges. And you want to keep that in mind no matter what you're using to pop your project up, whether you're using foam dots or foam or whatever it is. Okay, now I can glue this to the front of my card. Oh, you know what? That's silly. Look at what I did. Ha ha ha. I should have stamped that this way, but you know what? There's a save for that. And I'm going to show you what it is. Let me just put this piece in place here. Okay, and I'm going to just put something on top of this. What have I got I can put on top? Oh, here we go. There's a good sized block. There, I'll put that block on there. Put another block on top of that. I'll put that aside. And I have to go and cut a piece of paper so I can show you how to save that. So I'll be back in just a second. Okay, so I have my piece. I cut a piece of paper 4x6. And now I need to line my sentiments up to suit this this way of opening the card. And that looks pretty good for where I want them. Let me just close this over. that up, and let me see if I have that lined up well. Not so good. Let me fix that a little bit. Oh, come on, come on. Alright. This one's a little bit wonky too. Let's see. There we go. I think that's okay. I'm going to try it. This is the back. This is what I'm going to use as the back side of my sentiment. So let me just do it. I'm going to do a test one on the back. I just inked that just a little bit with my Memento ink. Okay, that looks good. I like the way that's lined up. I'll flip that over. Oh, and of course I used the wrong side. Oh well. No worries. I can just put this right back in. I'll re-ink that. Luckily it was good as far as the lining up went. And okay, that looks good for the inside of the card. Alright, let me get these pieces here. Close that ink up so I don't get ink on everything. So now I will just put some glue on this. And put that right over top of my mistake. And there we go. Okay, so there's my card. We're not done with this yet though, because it still needs a little something. I'm going to use my Wink of Stella. Give that a little squeeze, get that going. And I'm going to just go over my leaves. Give them a little glitter. The Wink of Stella is nice. I like the Spectrum Noir sparkle pens too. But they have more of a silvery sparkle. This has more of a gold sparkle. So I think the gold just goes much better with the colors that we've used in the card. So that's what I'm going to use. And get this third leaf here. You see how that leaf has run and smudged it. Just looks like you've watercolored that leaf all by hand. Put all that veining in by hand. Okay, and it still needs a little bit more. Just a little bit. So that's where I'm going to use these Nuvo drops. So off to the side, I'm going to just make sure that it's not going to spit. Okay. I've got my Nuvo drops coming in. What you do, hold your bottle straight up and down, and you hold it just above the paper where you want your dot, and you let that just come out and make your dot. And you'll get a nice rounded dimensional dot with it every time. And let's see, then about 1/4 inch away on each side here, I'll just put a smaller one. And do that in each of the corners. Put a nice big one, small one, small one, big one, small one, small one. And again, big one, small one, small one. That big one needs just a little bit more. I can still add a little bit to that. And there we go. I'm just going to wipe off the tip here. I'm going to bang that good on my table to get all that product down out of the schnozzle here. And off to the side here, I'm just going to squeeze that a little bit up. There's still stuff coming out. You see that? We don't want that. Let me bang that down some more. We want to get that schnozzle cleared out. There. See, it spit a little bit. That's why I did it off to the side here. I have this paper towel. But now, I don't know if you probably can't hear it, but it makes a little huffing sound now. And that's what you want to do when you put your drops away, so that you don't have your stuff, your product all in that schnozzle and maybe harden in the schnozzle, and then it's just going to be a mess. So before you put them away, we need to learn to take care of what we have. These crafting supplies are not always the cheapest thing in the world, so we need to take care of them. And so there is our card. And I don't want to touch these dots, so I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to open it up. And there on the inside, so glad to have you in my life. Here's our sentiment. So there, our card is finished. If there are any Stampin' Up! Products that you'd like to purchase, you can do that either through my blog or my Facebook page. There's shop buttons on each of them. That would be much appreciated if you used me as your demonstrator. If you'd like to see more of my videos, then be sure to hit that subscribe button. There's a subscribe button down below here on the YouTube. And if you hit that, a little bell will come up. And if you hit the little bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I have a new project up online. Let's see, what else do I say? Oh, and all the tools and materials I used, I'll list those down below here. And y'all take care, stay safe, and happy stamping.